have you heard of the whole Kiersey personality test, right? Carl Jung proposed this. You probably have heard of this.
I think I've heard of it.
Right. So most engineers tend to be intuition driven. In order to be problem solvers, you have to actually have some sort of intuition, right? Because you have a sense of, like, for example, you're running an experiment or you're trying to think about a problem, how to solve. The problem hasn't been solved because nobody else solved it. So there's no data to go by, there's no real like solid numbers to go by. But you sit down and think of different factors and there's an intuition. Here is the direction that I want to go, right? A lot of actually engineering work is, and I was surprised, by the way, when I read about this. I took the test and I thought engineers operated a lot on data and we would be like sensing the other category, but no, we're actually, a lot of like engineers are intuitive. So when you have that intuitiveness about you, you make a decision and you execute it, and then constant learning loop, right? Oh, I've done this, okay, that didn't work out. But again, going back to like measuring it, right? You make a decision and you figure out whether it's working or not, and if it's not, then you go make an alternate choice. So having that flexibility of personality, and again, I think you made this, right? Detaching yourself from you own the decision making, but you actually don't sit down and dwell too much about failure or things that not working out, and taking that as a lesson as opposed to actually having a sense of failure about it. That's the whole point. Life is, a lesson, and you're constantly learning.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that with your team?
We've actually had, an example of this very recently, and by the way, with my team, this was with an extended team, so we're actually talking about like 40 people being involved or more. And it's related to a feature of coming out, and what we did is we made a decision some time back, and we went in that direction, and we stuck with it. And then what happened relatively recently is that I just turned around and I said, this isn't working for this reason, and if we can't fix this, which is what the feedback that we got, that we weren't going to be able to address that problem, I said, well, we've got to do this. And so I went and advocated to my VP and said we should do it this way, and he kind of came back and said, well, can we do X? And I was like, well, we'll see. But we ended up doing what I suggested, and it's going to work, but we could have gone the other way in the first place. But it doesn't really. But it didn't ultimately matter as long as we end up making the decision at the end point. I mean, you have to. I think the important lesson there is that you have to not get too vested in any one thing. And remember that it's what you're trying to do, and this is something that's, I suppose, very true about Apple, is that we always have in mind that this is a solution for the end customer, and you always have to have that perspective in mind, because that really helps guide your decision making.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people and a lot of technologists can start to dwell overly much on the minutiae of a solution, and it really helps if you step back and understand that the customer who uses their iPhone, or who is trying to make a sale and record it on their digital sales blot or something, is not concerned about how it works. They're concerned about how well it works and how efficiently and how easy it is. And if you sit back and if you step back and you think about it in that perspective, a lot of decisions that would focus on, well, we wanted to do X because of Y, and that are more technical minutiae, it becomes a lot clearer as to which way you should go at any particular point in time. So, for example, this thing that we were talking about, it was a performance issue, and it was clear that there was not going to be any technical solution to that performance thing. So we just had to make this sort of big swing and say, well, no, we'll just do it this other way, and that will alleviate the problem from the user's perspective. Right?
And I think this is, if I may add one more thing, this is not just true with technology and startups and products, right? It's true of life too. You make a decision and you live it and you learn from it, and you let go of whatever the consequences of. So here's what I like to say: nobody cares about your failure as much as you do, right? It's all right.
Yeah.
So you feel like, oh, everybody thinks that I made this stupid decision. Now we wasted 3 weeks doing this. That's not even a healthy way, not a productive way of looking at anything, right? Life, product, and your engineering schedule. It's just the way life is.
Yeah.
Life just is, right? So.